I'm going to tell you a story about my grandfather. So he was born in 1939. He was born here in Monterrey. And, well, ever since he was little, he lived in the downtown part of the city. And back then, the houses used to be really big. They had really big backyards. So after my great-grandfather passed away, my great-grandmother decided to split the house in half and rent the other half. So shortly after they did that, there were a young couple with a daughter who was interested in renting the house. And, well, every time my grandfather tells this story, he says that the couple, they were normal, they were young, but that the daughter was really creepy and weird. He says that he tried being friends with her once, but she was a more reserved kind of girl. They were approximately the same age. She was 7 and he was 8. So, well, they didn't get along so well. But 4 years later, the daughter died. She was sick and she died in her house in the room. So, obviously for the family, it was a really traumatic experience that they didn't want to live there anymore. So they left. And my great-grandmother, she wanted to make sure everything was perfect for the next people who wanted to rent the house. So she asked my grandfather to help her clean the house, water the plants, just make sure everything was perfect. So he says he went there about 6 or 7 times before the house was actually in rent. And the first time he went there, it was a really big house and it was empty. There was nothing there, all the furniture was gone. And he started exploring, and in the girls' room, there was this huge gun safe. It was about 1.80 gun safe, a safe box but for guns. It was like tall, it was made of steel, it was like 180 centimeters tall, and about like 1 meter width. He could like stand up and fit it perfectly because he was 11 years old. So ever since he was little, my grandfather was really interested in the mechanics of things and the engineering. So if you open the door, you could see how the machines like turned. If you pull the hinge up, like everything just perfectly, like the gears fitted perfectly and just everything moved. So he was, I'm not gonna say obsessed with it, but like fascinated with like the mechanics of it. So every time he went there, he just moved the hinge, because the only way to close the door, it was if you move the hinge all the way to the top. So he moved he would get inside and just close the door a little bit. He would put his arm like outside and move the hinge and just like watch how everything moved. He did that several times. But one time he says it was different. So he woke up really early because his mother told him that there were people coming over to see the house. So he went there. Usually, it was the first thing he did. He went into the girl's room, and he got inside. He started moving the hinge, but at one point, he pulled his head inside, and he started like moving the hinges himself, and then he just felt the door pushing towards him, and just like the hinge, like he just heard a really slow click. So when he tried to push the door away from him, it was closed. Like, he didn't know what happened because he just closed the door and just, the hinge made a really loud click. So he was inside, he started panicking, and he thought to himself, who could have closed the door? The only way to close the door is to move the hinge all the way to the top. It cannot move by itself. Could have been my mother, could have been someone else, like who? But he was all there by himself. So he started panicking. And by the time he calmed himself down, like several minutes after that, he started to remember how everything moved and how the gears just perfectly fitted with one another. So he started moving everything himself, and I don't know how he did it. Probably that's why he's an engineer right now. But he moved everything and he got everything perfectly, so he opened the door. And when he just ran out the gun safe, and he just looked into the window and saw his mother on the backyard watering the plants, no one there, and he was really freaked out. And after that, the gun safe was shipped somewhere else. He never saw it again, but he could never explain to himself how, if he was standing there and he didn't move the hinge, how the hinge just moved by himself and trapped him inside.
What did he think was the explanation? Did he ever tell?
Well, he's a very, he's not a skeptic person. Like, he believes in all that kind of stuff. So he probably thinks that the house was haunted by the girl who died there, which I think it could be, because she died. And why was it concept from the girl's room? That I didn't understand that. Why didn't you just put it somewhere else or in your room? Like, why in the girl's room? That's weird. Like, you stored your haunts in your daughter's room? I don't know. But he always when he used to tell this story, I was like, don't believe you, seriously. Like, how can you just pull up the hinge by itself? But, you never know. She did die there, and he said she was weird and creepy. So, might have been. Never know, might as well.